Bullshit.
It's the No Bullshit Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich. Today I'm going to talk about an anniversary, and I find it hard to believe, but it's the 1-year anniversary of the launch of my latest book, No Bullshit Marketing. I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe that year passed, and it's a milestone, but it's not the finish line. It's a checkpoint. And hitting at a milestone like an anniversary of a launch of a book brings all kinds of emotions. One is a sense of gratitude, which I'm going to talk about on today's show and today's episode. Gratitude for having the chance to do what I love with people I like and care about, and for clients that I care about, and do it in a manner that I believe strongly in, and enjoying that. And that's what the book process was about. It was doing something you love with people you like and care about. And the creation process is this, that writing isn't a solo effort. It's collaborative, and it's a team effort. From the publisher Indie Books and Henry DeVries, who served as an editor on the book and who challenged me to come up with all the stories. I'll never forget when we had our first session. It was a half-day session. He said, I want you to come to this session prepared to tell me the stories about your work. And I told him stories about our clients' successes. And he recorded that, came back and said, you gave me a lot of material. He said, I think we might have way more chapters than we expected. And he said, I think you have the outline of about 17 chapters. And that was the framework, the outline that you start with. But then there's others that were involved in the writing process on the Mass Solutions team. And there's people that are involved with the cover art and people involved from the standpoint of bouncing ideas off of them. So Mass Solutions team, clients gave those success stories, talked to me about it and said, you ought to mention this. Family, friends, everybody contributed. And the lesson is that the process itself was valuable. Going through that rigorous process of gathering what we saw as the success stories at Mass Solutions and what we saw as how the Mass Solutions IP was built and the trials and tribulations over the years, you learn as much or more from creating the book as you do from launching the book. And so that creation process was big. And again, that ties back to that gratitude that I mentioned. Then we had the launch and we got some immediate wins. So that when you launch a book, Amazon says to you, which lists do you want to put your name in for? And so we put the big one. We said the big list, the business books, and competing against anybody from, an author of something like Good to Great all the way across to any author. And then we picked some other ones that we thought matched up with marketing and marketing insights and impact and industries like healthcare and so forth. And we saw very quickly, Amazon will tell you where you are doing, and they'll show you with stuff on the screen showing you how you're competing with others. And the first hour and the first day and the first week and the first weeks and month to watch and see how the book was performing was a range of emotions. First, we'd come out of the gate really high, and then we flattened off and came out ranked high, then dropped. And you're like, what's going on? Then we went back up and down and back up. And then I noticed a really cool thing. On the biggest list of all the marketing books, the business books, I saw Malcolm Gladwell's sequel to The Tipping Point, and I have a screen grab of where my book and Malcolm Gladwell's book are 1 and 2. I remember telling my mom, I said, hey, you probably don't know who Malcolm Gladwell is, but this screen grab here is pretty important to me. It's exciting to be neck and neck with Malcolm Gladwell for a while. Now, obviously, Malcolm Gladwell's book is spectacular, but still just to be in that was fun. And then there were 2 other lists that we were the number 1 Amazon bestseller on those lists. And that was just gratifying to feel like, wow, we have a number 1 Amazon best-selling book. The energy and the proof that the ideas resonated felt like validation for years and years and years of building Mass Solutions IP and building the no bullshit approach. It felt like it had paid off because you saw that it was resonating with so many people. Then we just recently hit a review milestone. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, someone on my team came back and said, we're at about 84, 85 reviews. And I said, really? That's great. And we might be able to get to 100 reviews. And I want to make sure that you understand this is not a vanity metric. It's a validation metric. Quite the opposite. It's a validation metric because you think about things that you enjoyed, whether it's books, shows, movies. How many times have you done a review? If you took the time to do a review, that means you were engaged and you believed and you were a supporter. Maybe that book, The Raving Fan, maybe you're a raving fan. So when we got to that mid 80s, we started talking to some people and started promoting a little bit on the blog and on the podcast and in social media. And last weekend, we hit 100. Saturday morning, I'd been checking every couple of days, and I checked Saturday morning, we were at 100. We've exceeded 100 now. And then I learned that someone said to me, do you realize that the stat is that less than 1% of books ever receive that validation of 100 reviews, and to do it prior to the 1-year anniversary of the launch was a big deal. Now, it was only a few days prior, but we did it prior to the launch. And again, reviews are signals of connection, that people felt the book resonated with them, and it resonated enough that they believed in it enough to take the time to post a review. Now, there were some unexpected surprises. There's the ripple effect. From the day that it launched, we started receiving more and more requests to be a guest on a podcast, more and more requests to speak at events, more and more requests to speak at groups, and more times to be asked to be on stages. We also were flattered to be asked to partner on all kinds of different things, partner on events, partner on possibly additional books, partner on writing. So those were unexpected things that happened. And then we had clients sign on. After reading the book and reacting to the book, they reached out and signed on, new clients. We had past clients come back who we hadn't worked with in a while and got the book and said, hey, it's time to talk again. And then we had individual readers reaching out to tell us how it impacted them. And that's probably what really makes you feel great, is when someone says to you, this book resonated so much that I changed X, or I changed Y, or I learned how to do something different that is making an impact for me. So that book traveled far, far farther than I thought, into circles I would never have expected. And that's just something great that throughout the last year that I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to experience. Now, what lessons did I learn that could possibly help you out there? So the first is the cost of inaction. You've heard me speak and write about the cost of inaction, and you really have to do it. You have to take a chance and do it. And for me, it was gratifying that readers shared that the book pushed them to finally act, They realized that inaction was costing them, and they got clarity and momentum from reading the book, No Bullshit Marketing, and they acted in some way, shape, or form, whether it changed what they were doing from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a growth standpoint, whether it was something about personal growth, whether it was about a way to build their brand, personal brand or company brand, or whether it was tied to revenue growth, or whether it was tied to their own content, or maybe they decided to write a book. So the lesson learned was that the cost of inaction is significant. You need to get going and get moving. Second is, there was a personal impact from me that the writing reinforced discipline for me. From that first meeting with Henry, when he was setting up the strategy session, he said, you need to go build an outline of what you think you want to cover. And you want to go find success stories that you can tell me when we meet in our session. Built that outline, reach out to clients, reach out to Mass team members, family, friends, started adding meat to the outline, adding anecdotes and analogies, which I preach all the time, that it's all about anecdotes and analogies. Had the meeting with Henry, sat down with the strategy session, and then came out of that with an official plan. And then we worked the plan and fought through some content blocks. I call content block, used to be called writer's block. I guess it's still writer's block, but it's actually could be content block because some people don't do the writing. They actually do it on video. And we hit the writer's block because initially came out of the gate fast, had that strategy session, got it down to like 17 stories you wanted to tell, started pounding them out. Sent the first draft of mine to Henry. I said, Henry, I got my first draft. Here, massage this a little bit. He came back with some creatives. Why don't you change this title, this chapter? What about that section? Doesn't have enough meat. But then there were a couple of chapters he said, you need to really go back to the drawing board on. And I then stalled. I stalled for like a month. And he's emailed me once a week on what's going on. Didn't touch it for like a month. Then came back and pushed through it, got it to the next draft to him. Then he came down and said, now you got to do the final edits, and got through that. So it was building the outline, gathering the anecdotes and analogies, talking to other people, then meeting with Henry, building the plan, working the plan, and then fighting through all the stuff it takes when you're doing something big and it's a big project for you, whatever your project is. Mine happened to be, in this instance, this book. When you have a project, you got to build that plan, prepare, get anecdotes, analogies, work that plan, and fight through all the obstacles. And that's what happened there. The team that helped me, there was a tremendous amount of support from the team. They helped along the way. And that's proof that no big achievement comes alone, that it's a collective action. Nothing happens in isolation. And storytelling travels. Storytelling travels. Your story goes further than you imagine when you put it out there. And that's why I encourage so many people to put their story out there, whether it's about their business in a sales call, about their business when building a brand, about their business as far as content for the business, or personal content. Your storytelling travels further than you could ever imagine. As far as looking ahead, this is not the finish line. It's a foundation. It's a foundation for what's next. I want to have continued speaking, workshops, getting new opportunities for that every day. I want to find ways that I can help anyone that wants to do no bullshit marketing to be able to do it for themselves and their company. The Mass Solutions IP continues to expand. We're tying the book lessons into consulting, that consulting around growth. That's what we really do. We consult to help people grow. We help them grow their top line, their bottom line. We help them grow their brand. We help them grow their talent. And so the consulting is tied back to lessons learned from the book about growth. There's all kinds of training. And of course, more client success stories have already happened during the last year since the launch. And there's potential for additional books, additions to the platform, new partnerships. So that is my story about the 1-year anniversary of the launch of No Bullshit Marketing, the #1 Amazon best-selling book. Closing with thanking the reviewers, over 100 of you, thanking the readers, tens of thousands of you, thanking clients, team, family, and podcast listeners. My call to action to you is continue to spread the word. Every review matters. Every referral that you connect with us matters, where we can help them. And stories matter. Enjoy the journey. Words matter. No bullshit.
Bullshit.